Hey everyone, this is Derek Bros with the Conscious Resistance Network, and today we are going to talk about ruling class journalists. First things first, I want you to go over to theconsciousresistance.com, this beautiful website you're looking at right here, and bookmark this. Bookmark this up in your toolbar, save it, check it once a week, a couple times a week, as you please. You will see new content from us. I try to update it as we put out new videos. And you can also get discounted tickets to Anarchapulco right over here, and you can sign up for our newsletter and get our weekly newsletter and all of our latest content. So please do that. Now let's get right into this. I want to give you a quick flashback to 1993. This article was written by the Washington Post. Now imagine this, back in the day, 25 years ago, the Washington Post actually did some journalism occasionally. And this is by Richard Harwood, October 30th, 1993, ruling class journalist. In its 70-year history, the quarterly journal Foreign Affairs has had but 5 editors. The 5th, recently appointed, is James Hogue, former publisher of the New York Daily News and before that editor of the Chicago Sun-Times. The quarterly is published by the Council on Foreign Relations, whose members are the nearest things we have to a ruling establishment in the United States. The President is a member, so is his Secretary of State, the Deputy Secretary of State, all 5 of the Undersecretaries, several of the Assistant Secretaries, and the Department's legal advisor. The President's National Security Advisor and his deputy are members. The Director of the Central Intelligence, like all previous directors, and the Chairman of the Foreign Intelligence Advisory Board are members. The Secretary of Defense, 3 Undersecretaries, and at least 4 Assistant Secretaries are members. The Secretaries of the Departments of Housing and Urban Development, Interior, Health, and Human Services, and the Chief White House Public Relations man David Garrigan are members, along with the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader of the Senate. This is not a retinue of people who look like America, as the President once put it, but they are definitely look like the people who, for more than half a century, have managed our international affairs and our military-industrial complex. And I'll let you just go on and read a little further on. Of course, he gives a list of who's involved. He says nearly 2/3 of the council's more than 2,000 members live in New York or D.C., as you would expect, and include people like Gerald Ford, Jimmy Carter, Kissinger, Zbigniew Brzezinski, Cyrus Vance, McGeorge Bundy, Governor Mario Cuomo, and so on. So all these names, some of them still around today, some of their families still around today, and it goes on and on to detail how these people, the Council on Foreign Relations, have been embedded with media and with politicians and with powerful people all over the world. Here it says the past 15 years, council directors have included Hedley Donovan of Time Inc., Elizabeth Drew of The New Yorker, Philip Galen of The Washington Post, Karen Elliott House of The Wall Street Journal, Strobe Talbot of Time Magazine, who is now Clinton's ambassador at large, the editorial page editor, deputy editorial page editor, the executive editor, managing editor, foreign editor, national affairs editor, business and financial editor, and various writers. The paper's principal owner represent the Washington Post and the council's membership. And Wall Street Journal, Los Angeles Times, Dan Rather, Tom Brokaw, Jim Lehrer, and various columnists, Charles Crothamer, William Buckley, George Willett, and Jim Hoagland. All these names back then in the 90s and the 80s that were making waves and in powerful positions in media and government were a part of this organization known as the Council on Foreign Relations, which should be of no surprise, and the name should not be familiar to any of my listeners here. If it is, well, we'll work on that shortly. But for now, go dive in and do your own research. We will put out our own video and educate you on the Council on Foreign Relations if you're not aware. But it's not simply the Council on Foreign Relations. A lot of those people are more left-leaning, like Donald Trump and some of these others. They're progressives in some sense. But you also have groups like the Council for National Policy, which is a little bit more secretive, and it involves more the conservative activists and the right-wing activists. Some people have pointed at it being connected to Alex Jones, maybe potentially being funded by them, as well as potentially Ron Paul and others. You can look deeper into this. I definitely advise you looking way beyond just this Wikipedia page and deeper below the surface to see how this organization works. Much like the Council on Foreign Relations, they have people everywhere, and they are quite influential, but you don't hear about them that often. So groups like that, these extra-governmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, supranational organizations, have influence on policy. And meanwhile, people think that their vote really matters. But it's not just that. That's not the only way that we have ruling class journalists. Let's not forget that in the 70s, we had the church hearings, the hearings which looked into the activity of not only the CIA, but the FBI, the NSA, and found that the CIA had been using journalists and clergy and intelligence operations. I will include this link below. You can dig into it for yourself if you've never heard of the church hearings and ideas like Project Mockingbird, Operation Mockingbird. At the end of the day, whatever they called it, it's irrelevant. What we do know is that the CIA was involved in infecting the press of the day and had their undercover agents working as journalists and putting out stories and working very closely with distributing propaganda around the world. And these documents detail that. And this right here is very useful article here. The CIA and the media, 50 facts the world needs to know, all about the connection between the CIA and the journalist outlets and the media here in America, the corporate deadstream media. So at the end of the day, one way or the other, the reason the people are so blind, the reason people are so distracted, the reason people are so divided is because since at least, let's say the 90s when this was written, but obviously didn't just start in the 90s, let's say the 70s, well obviously we know it didn't just start in the 70s, there have been powerful people vying for control, but going on at minimum 100 years now, there have been various groups of people trying to control and manipulate what you see, hear, read, and what you think, and what the world of your worldview is, and shape your very reality. And they do this to control you, to keep your mind in a matrix, to keep your spirit in a matrix, so that you're unable to think for yourself. You're unable to rationally take apart the situation that we're dealing with and understand it from all the different angles. Instead, they get you to believe in things like voting, get you to believe that playing their game, playing their system will somehow achieve true change when it's rigged from top to bottom. The journalists are bought off, the media is controlled, people that are not even in government, that are not even elected, have power and influence and use that power and influence to shape the world around them. And you're just living in it. So the solution is to stop paying attention to them and to unplug from their systems and to support independent media and independent thinking and create your own media, create your own culture, create your own content. And short of doing that, follow us, follow our content, pay attention to what we have here, comment, interact with our community, share our videos, and help get the word out so we can wake people up. Thank you guys for watching. Remember, you are powerful, you are beautiful, and you are free. Peace.